Do you remember the last time you had a party or festival that was so good you wish it wouldn't end so soon? Or perhaps the sorrowful day after, contemplating all the fantastic ideas you had during the night out? Meet Dionysus, the god of wine, ecstasy, fertility, madness and theatre. The one who could host a never-ending party where wine was perfect and endless in supply. In the earlier days, it seems that he didn't belong to the list of the 12 Olympian gods. However, in later years, as he became more important, it is believed that Hestia, the goddess of the heart, made place for him to be among the 12. When someone is born, it can be quite a challenge, and while creating the video about Hephaestus, I thought he had a rough start, being thrown off Mount Olympus by his father or mother. However, the birth of Dionysus isn't a gentle and sweet tale either. For example, his father killed his mother before he was born. After that, his father took charge of the birth process. Want to take a wild guess who the father was and how he gave birth to Dionysus? Of course, it's no other than Zeus, the king of the gods. He fell deeply in love with a beautiful modern princess named Semele. She was the daughter of Cadmus, the king of Thebes. The union was full of love, but it was also shrouded in secrecy because Zeus was already married to Hera, the queen of the gods. Hera was known for jealousy and wrath, especially towards the objects of Zeus' affections. When Hera learned of Zeus' affair with Semele, she was consumed by jealousy. She devised a cunning plan to get rid of her. Disguising herself as an old nurse, Hera befriended Semele and planted the seeds of doubt in her mind. She tricked Semele into questioning the true identity of her lover, suggesting that he might not be Zeus. Women can be very cunning and clever, especially when they feel something is off. Consumed with curiosity and a bit of doubt, Semele confronted Zeus. She asked him if he would grant her a wish. Zeus said yes to this request. But Semele asked Zeus to take an oath that he would fulfill the wish, whatever it may be. Zeus took the oath. Then the question followed to reveal his true divine form as proof of his identity. Zeus, who loved Semele dearly, tried to reason with her, knowing well the mortal body couldn't withstand the sight of its divine form. But Semele was adamant. Obliged by an oath he had sworn, Zeus fulfilled her request. As Zeus appeared in his true form, as a god of lightning and thunder, his brilliant radiance was too much for Semele. She was instantly consumed by the divine fire, leaving nothing but ashes. But in her womb a miracle was taking place. Zeus managed to rescue the unborn child, Dionysus, from the ashes of his mother. To protect him from Hera's wrath, Zeus sewed the fetus into his thigh. In due time, Dionysus was born directly from Zeus' thigh, making his birth unique and extraordinary. In this story, Zeus was wrong to cheat, but he also showed love and mercy for Dionysus. It feels like when you know you do something wrong, but then when things can't get any worse, you try to fix whatever remains. By the way, links for the video about Zeus, Hera, Hestia or Hephaestus are in the description. Jealousy can grow in the hearts of those who feel wronged, and in Hera's heart it became an unstoppable force. She had endured Zeus' unfaithfulness with a heavy heart, each incident a jab at her dignity. The birth of Dionysus, the result of Semele's relationship with Zeus, was a wound too deep for time to mend. Knowing the dangers his son would face from Hera's intense anger, Zeus thought about the destiny of the baby god. To safeguard Dionysus, Zeus handed him over to Hermes, the god's messenger, who was quick and discreet. Hermes understood what had to be done, and he descended from the high peaks of Olympus to the human world. With the baby god in his arms, Hermes crossed valleys and mountains, guided by the winds and stars. The sanctuary chosen for Dionysus was Nysa, a secluded valley green and untouched by human conflict. It was a place where the earth resonated with the magic of the old world. In this place there lived a group of nymphs. These beings welcomed Dionysus with joy and laughter, promising to raise him and protect him from Hera's watchful eyes. They also pledged to teach him the wisdom of the natural world. The nymphs showed him nature's secrets, like how its season changed and how to understand animals. Dionysus learned to love and respect the earth and felt a strong connection to life around him. This love for nature shaped his future in big ways. However, even as Dionysus enjoyed his life hidden away in Nysa, Hera kept looking for him. She was still upset and wanted to find him. The place where Dionysus was hidden was secret, but Hera was determined to find it. Dionysus' peaceful life was about to change, pushing him towards her next big adventure. The nymphs helped Dionysus to get ready for what was coming. They thought how to understand both gods and humans. He didn't just learn about nature, but also about the people's feelings and weaknesses. When Dionysus felt ready for adventure and wanted to see more of the world, the nymphs knew they couldn't keep him safe any longer. Though it was hard, they said goodbye to him, giving him wineskin. It was a symbol of happiness and the challenge he would face. With excitement and a bit of worry, Dionysus left Nysa. His adventure was about learning, not only about the world, but also about himself. With every step, he became part of a bigger stories, involving both gods and humans. Now that Dionysus wasn't in the sanctuary anymore, Hera could find him, and so she did. As Dionysus was beginning to establish his cult and spread the practice of winemaking, Hera approached. She then instilled an insidious madness inside of him, a divine affliction that no mortal remedy could cure. This madness drove Dionysus into a frenzied state, unable to distinguish reality from illusion, friend from foe. Under the spell of Hera's induced madness, Dionysus wandered far and wide across the ancient world. This journey was both literal and symbolic odyssey, taking him through various lands including Egypt, Syria, Phrygia and Persia, introducing the cultivation of vines and the sacred rites of his cult along the way. Yet, this madness cast a shadow over these endeavors, bringing both chaos and revelation. In Phrygia, Dionysus encountered Semele, or Rhea, the great mother goddess, who provided him the cure to his madness. This encounter represents a crucial turning point for him, symbolizing the rebirth of his psyche and the restoration of his divine faculties. Cured of his madness, Dionysus emerged with newfound wisdom and strength. Now capable of understanding and wielding his divine power more effectively, he resumed his effort to establish the cult with greater vigor and purpose. This journey brought him into contact with followers who became the first Maenads and Satyrs. If you're looking for a great cult to party with, the Maenads should be avoided. The name means raving ones, and they sure like to party, drink, dance and sing all day and night, but it goes beyond control. Instead of having a blast, they tear apart live animals and in some stories even humans, only to eat them raw. This was a ritual act in Sparagmos and Homophagia, and were meant to bring them closer to the Dionysus. Okay, back to the traveling story, where upon returning to Greece, Dionysus proved his godhood by performing miracles, such as turning water into wine or bringing vines to flourish in unexpected places. But the returning to Greece wasn't all sunshine and welcoming. The story of Dionysus' return to Greece and his confrontation with King Pentheus of Thebes is one of the most famous and dramatic tales associated with the god of wine. This myth is depicted in Euripides' tragedy, the Bacchus. After his travels across Asia, upon reaching Thebes, he encountered resistance. Thebes was ruled by King Pentheus, who was Dionysus' cousin. Pentheus was a rational and stern ruler who denied the divinity of Dionysus and disapproved the ascetic worship and frenzied rituals associated with the god. Pentheus was concerned about the behavior of the Maenads, or Bacchi, the female followers of Dionysus who roamed the mountains in ascetic and frenzied worship. You might wonder if there's any darker side to this party god. Well, Dionysus decided to punish Pentheus and Thebes for the refusal to recognize him as a god and for the opposition to his worship. The god disguised himself as a mortal and was arrested by Pentheus' guards. Even in disguise, he owned supernatural powers, causing great confusion and madness in Thebes. He was brought before Pentheus, and despite the king's threats, Dionysus remained composed and cryptic, further infuriating Pentheus. Pentheus was tricked by Dionysus into spying on the Maenads. Dressed as one of them, to observe the rituals firsthand, Dionysus led him to Mount Kithaeron, where the Maenads gathered. Once there, Pentheus, hidden in the tree, was spotted by the frenzied Maenads. Dionysus caused them to see Pentheus as a mountain lion. In their madness, led by Pentheus' own mother Agave, they attacked him, believing that they were defending themselves from the beast. Agave, in a frenzy, was the one who delivered the fatal blow, tearing her son apart with her bare hands. It was only later, when the frenzy had passed, that Agave recognized the horror of her actions, realizing she had killed her own son. This realization brought immense tragedy to the royal family of Thebes. After hearing this story, it begins hard to guess what to expect from the god of wine. To make his actions even more unpredictable, there is another story, and it involves pirates. According to the myth, Dionysus was captured by a group of Therian pirates who intended to hold him for ransom or sell him to slavery. They saw Dionysus as a young, beautiful man, perhaps noble, and thought they could make a fortune by abducting him. However, their chains could not hold him, and their effort to restrain him were futile, as the ropes would fall off. The story goes on to describe a series of miraculous events that unfolded on the pirate ship. Dionysus turned into a fierce lion and unleashed a bear, terrifying the pirates. Vines began to grow rapidly over the ship's sails and along its hull, and he filled the vessel with the sound of flutes. In their panic and trying to escape the unearthly events, the pirate jumped overboard, but instead of drowning, Dionysus mercifully transformed them into dolphins. This episode illustrates that he is both a beneficent god bringing joy and divine ecstasy, and has a formidable force capable of evoking terror and punishment for those who oppose him or disrespect the divine order. The transformation of the pirates into dolphins also hint at an aspect of mercy in their punishment, as dolphins were considered sacred animals known for intelligence and friendliness towards humans, suggesting a form of redemption for the pirates. If you have watched the video about the Minotaur, there is also a part about Ariadne. If you haven't watched it yet, the video is in the description. Dionysus also had a connection to her, and it's a beautiful story. The story centers around Ariadne, the daughter of King Minos of Crete and Dionysus. Ariadne first entered the mythic stage through her involvement with Theseus, the hero who comes to Crete to slay the Minotaur. The Minotaur was a monstrous creature, half man, half bull, that dwelt in a labyrinthine dungeon under King Minos' palace. Ariadne, struck by love at first sight, decides to help Theseus defeat the Minotaur. She provides him with a sword to kill the monster and a ball of thread to navigate the complex labyrinth. After Theseus' victory, he takes Ariadne with him and he sails away from Crete. However, the story takes a heartbreaking turn. On the island of Naxos, Theseus abandons Ariadne while she is asleep. The reasons for his abandonment vary among versions of the myth. Some suggest he was instructed to do so by the gods. Others claim he simply fell out of love, and still others speculate about forgetfulness or misunderstanding. Left alone and desolate, Ariadne's fate seemed grim until Dionysus finds her. This encounter between Dionysus and Ariadne on Naxos is a moment of divine intervention in love. Dionysus, either moved by her beauty, her plight, or both, falls in love with Ariadne. He decides to make her his wife, elevating her from forsaken mortal to divine consort. The union is celebrated in grandeur worthy of the gods. Dionysus offers Ariadne a crown of stars, which is later placed in the heavens as the constellation Corona Borealis, according to some versions of the myth. This act not only signifies the eternal bond between them, but also Ariadne's ascension into divinity. The story of Dionysus and Ariadne is a famous Greek myth. It highlights several key ideas like the unpredictable nature of love, the relationship between human and gods, and the chance for change and salvation through the help from the gods. It has inspired many people over the years. The story gives us hope that even after feeling lost and hopeless, we can find renewal and love. Dionysus had one more adventure, one more thing that had to be resolved, the resurrection of his mother. In the myth, Dionysus went to the underworld to search his mother Semele. When he finally found her, he had to negotiate with Hades, the god of the underworld, for her release. In some versions of the story, Dionysus is confronted with Cerberus, the three-headed dog guarding the entrance to the underworld, and with help of his half-brother, the Greek hero Hercules, Dionysus overcomes the beast and enters the underworld. After successfully bargaining with Hades, Semele was resurrected and ascended to Mount Olympus to live with the sun. How Hera reacted to this is not known. Looking back at the life of Dionysus, it teaches us that no matter what difficulties you face in your own life, you have the power to overcome them. His story is a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and despair, there is always the potential for transformation and redemption. It's a lesson about resilience, hope, and the enduring power of love. So, let's remember his story and let's find strength in our ability to adapt, grow, and love. This is the timeless wisdom we can draw from his tale. Thank you for watching. Until next time.